On today's episode, we have Kirsty Chaplin and we discuss her business, Flourish Accounting, how she's gone about buying her office, acquiring another accountancy firm, and just how the business has grown over the last 4 or 5 years. A really good episode for you guys to watch. This is the Eardley Bird Podcast with me, Oli Eardley, powered by People. So, where I'd like to start is I'd like to talk a bit about your background and how you've got to where you are now, maybe what sort of jobs you did before starting your own business, that sort of stuff. So if you could talk me through that, that would be great.
Yeah, so I've always worked in accounts really. So I started working for quite a big construction company in their accounts department, did quite a few different roles within there. And then just moved on from job to job within accounts. I then had a brief period where I set up a business with a friend of mine, which didn't do great. We did all right, but we were quite young, so, quite naive. So learned a lot of lessons. But whilst I was doing that, I then started studying for my AAT alongside that. So once we folded that business, I then went to work in practice for a few years. So that was really good because I kind of got to know how a practice works and how different it is from being in industry as well. And whilst I was there, I always felt like I much preferred being out of the office with clients, working on site, rather than being in the office and just working on accounts.
Sure.
So I decided then to go back into industry. So I went to work for a big telecoms company. I was their group accountant for quite a few years. And by that time I'd qualified as well. So I'd qualified while I was at the practice. So yeah, I worked there up until the COVID year, so up until 2020. And that's kind of when everything changed for me, really. I think the whole working from home thing, being around my children a little bit more, I realised that I didn't want to have a 9-to-5 job anymore. I didn't want to be that mum that couldn't pick the kids up from school or missed all the assemblies. So that's kind of why I then decided to go on my own and try and have a little bit more flexibility, really.
Yeah. So flexibility was the key sort of driver for you, was it?
Yeah, I think just spending more time. So my youngest at the time was only 18 months and I really wanted to spend as much time with him as I could. I felt like I felt really guilty, really, like I didn't feel like I was a very present parent because I was always focusing on my career and always at work. So, but yeah, I think for a lot of people, the COVID year kind of really made you realise what actually means the most to you and what you want from life. And for me, it's just that work-life balance.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of new businesses that were sort of started in around COVID. One side of it was people sort of getting laid off was one area of it, but then there was also the fact that people almost knew what it felt like to be independent somewhat, and go on your own. So yeah, I completely get that. You mentioned a previous business with a friend. So first of all, what was that business? What did you do?
So it was a bridal shop. So my friend got married. She was quite young when she got married. She was 21. And it all stemmed from looking for her wedding dress. And then we were like, oh, we could do this. We'll set up. So yeah, we found a premises. We went to a few trade shows, got some designers and set it up. But I think because we were so young, we were I think we were 22, 23 when we set it up. Like we didn't know what actually having a business entails. And it was good. It was a good learning curve for me. I've taken a lot from it. I mean, we had it for 5 years as well. It did work out. But yeah, there were a lot of challenges and I don't regret doing it, but it's one of them.
What would you say was the key, let's say if you're going to pick a few things, like the key challenges and the key things that you learned from that business, that you brought to this new business, what would they be?
I think mainly it's the cash flow side of things. So like with bridal, you have to commit with a designer for so many samples per year. So you're having to, and that's twice a year because there's 2 seasons. So you're having to outlay quite a lot of money twice a year. So you've got to make sure that you've got that buffer in the bank. But then you've also got to, so you would order a dress, you would pay a deposit, and then you would pay a balance at the end. And it's just all that money management really, and just and premises are not cheap, advertising. So yeah, it was mainly the cash flow
Yeah.
element.
Okay. No, that's great. So it makes sense because now you're an accountant side of things. So if cash flow is the biggest one.
Yeah.
So moving forward then to the sort of present day, you've founded your own sort of business here. You've got, is it Flourish Accounting's the name, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could talk us for people listening, what do you do? Obviously you do accounting, but talk us through the business, how long you've been doing it.
So we started in 2020. So I was on my own at the beginning. So it was actually, I was on holiday with my husband. We were still in the UK. You couldn't leave the UK at that point. And I was just saying how fed up I was in my current job, and I just wanted a little bit more flexibility. So my husband had some spare office space. So he said, well, why don't you come and wait for me a couple of days and just have a couple of clients on the side and see how it goes. So I was like, right. So I left my job, did that. I think I had 3 clients, not including my husband, so 4 clients. And then I started doing that, and it was really nice. I could go for walks whenever I wanted. I could work whatever hours I wanted to. And then people just got to know what I was doing. So at the time, the license that I had, I could only have up to 5 clients. So I had to do quite a lot of work to get my full license. So once I got that, I started advertising a little bit on Instagram. I just made like a little logo on Canva. It was just called KC Accounting, nothing like, it was just, just really small. And then from there, just started getting more inquiries, started using LinkedIn. I'd never really used LinkedIn before. And I found that quite helpful. So yeah, from then, and then I realized that kind of the clients that I wanted to work with then, and what kind of business I wanted to build. So then I got on board with a marketing company, and then they helped me come up with a name, come up with a brand. So then Flourish was born. And then it just started getting bigger. And the office that I had was like on a builder's yard, and you had to go through like a storage unit to get up to it. So I couldn't have clients there. It just wasn't very nice. So the office that we've got now came up to rent on a high street. So I took that. So yeah, all of a sudden we had a business with a brand on a high street, clients.
Wow.
And then I took on my first employee then. So it's just kind of grown quite naturally. Like it's just happened.
How quickly was that evolution from sort of being in the back of industrial estate kind of location to the high street? How quick was that?
About 7 months. We took on the office in July of 2021. So yeah, it was quite quick.
Yeah, that's really quick, right? So when you first started there, you mentioned a few things to get clients. You mentioned Instagram ads. Was it Instagram advertising that you did at the beginning?
Just posting on Instagram. So I just set up a page, and then I shared it on mine, and then it was just people that I knew, and then their friends, and then they would pass me on to someone. So it was just recommendations, really. It was just
So it's your network essentially that you used to get those early clients.
Yeah.
And then moving on, we're on a high street now, and have you continued that same path in terms of getting clients? Has it been, recommendations, or has there been other stuff that you've used to grow the business?
Mainly it does seem to be recommendations from other clients. We did buy out a local retiring practice a couple of years ago. So she approached me. She was only down the road. It wasn't a big practice. But I think there were probably I think we've ended up with about 25, 30 clients from her. But yeah, that was quite a good process to go through as well. And like, if we wanted to do another one in the future, like, I know what we need to be looking for and what we need to do. So it was quite a good learning thing. But yeah, other than that, it is just networking and just knowing the right people and being in with the right people.
Yeah. So you mentioned something there that could be quite valuable for people is, you know, sort of buying other practices. You know, there might be people going through that. What would you say is your key things to take away from that would help you in that process?
Just to make sure you do your due diligence. So obviously, because the one that we were buying from, she was retiring, so a lot of her clients were of retirement age as well. So,
Sure.
and when you're given it, she gave us a list of clients, but she couldn't tell us who they were or exactly what they were. It was more, this is a sole trader, this is their industry. So we had to kind of gauge what we were buying.
Right.
A lot of them have retired as well
Right.
within a couple of years of taking them on. Some of them didn't stay, but then some of them have, and we've taken on some really valuable ones from there as well. So the way we did it was like a staged buyout as well. So we paid her for initially. I can't remember exactly how it worked, but it ended up over a period of a year. So at the end of the year, we looked at who we've retained, and then we paid an agreed fee on what clients we'd retained.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was only small, so it was quite easy in a
Yeah.
sense. I think
Would
if
you
progressed
do would you do it again? Would you do anything differently?
potentially. I'm one of these, like, if something just happens, it happens for a reason, so I'll just
Yeah.
go with it. So I don't think I'd actively seek to buy another one. Like we're growing naturally anyway, and we're growing organically, so I'm fine
Yeah.
with that. But I think if somebody approached me, then yeah, I'd definitely look at it again.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
considering my background's marketing, I want to dive deeper into the marketing side of your business. So you've mentioned Instagram, you've mentioned LinkedIn. So could you talk me through both of those platforms and maybe how you approach them differently, or if not?
Yeah, so we've recently taken on a new branding company to run our Instagram. So we've done quite a lot of work on that recently. So we've identified who our ideal client is, what time they're looking on Instagram, who they are specifically, what they're into, and their age group and things like that. So that has just been rolled out over the last couple of weeks. We're going through a really specific aesthetic as well. So yeah, and I'm kind of, we're seeing the results from that already as well. Like the
Right.
ideal clients are coming through, so it's definitely working. Whereas LinkedIn, I feel like we don't post as much as Flourish. I use it LinkedIn personally, but I feel like it's a complete different message. Like
Yeah.
it's a hard one. The only thing I find about LinkedIn is there are a lot of accountants on there, so I'm not necessarily picking up picking up clients. I have picked up clients from there, but I tend to find it's more connections on there, so people are handy to know. So like I've met I'm connected with a lot of FDs. I work with quite a few portfolio FDs. A lot of IFAs, insurance, things like that, HR. So it's quite nice just to have a network of people.
Yeah. Okay. And so with the Instagram side there, you said you've made a few changes, you've been a bit more specific about the type of people that you want to attract. And how long have you been doing that with the new company now?
So only in the last couple of months. So this year was one of the big things I wanted to change. So I wanted to really refine our branding and our message and our socials. So like I've dabbled with LinkedIn, with Instagram. Like I'm okay at it, but when you're busy, it's hard to remember to post something, or I'll think, oh, I've got this idea, but then I've got to sit and write it and then find a nice image, and it's just like I need to do my other job, my actual job.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to juggle it all. So yeah, they've just taken it on completely, so they completely run it now for me, which is ideal.
That's good. Yeah, no, I found a similar thing where you've also got obviously your full-time job, which is running a business, but then considering the focuses, posting consistently, all that sort of stuff is a lot of work. So yeah, it makes absolute sense that you've got someone sort of doing that for you. So have they just been posting for you? What would you say the results, physical results look like? How many extra inquiries would you say you're getting over those first sort of couple months?
So they post for us, but they also do all the engagement as well. So they'll comment on other people's posts, they'll look for people to connect with. So they do it all really. And it tends to be on a night. So they must have identified that our ideal clients are scrolling on a night. So I'll be sat on the sofa and all of a sudden I'll get about 50 Instagram notifications and I'm like, what? I haven't done anything. So yeah, but yeah, I've definitely seen like an influx of messages coming through the Instagram. A lot of inquiries that have come through the website, but they have come through our Instagram. So I probably did about 10 to 15 quotes last week that have probably come from there. So
wow,
it's
okay.
And they all kind of fall under that demographic as well that we've been looking at. So yeah, it's definitely working.
Sure. Talk me through the demographic then, because Instagram obviously has a certain type of person, let's say, that uses it. Yeah. So what is the demographic that you're looking to attract?
So I think obviously we've been going forward, we're just coming into our 5th year, and I think we've just really realised who we want to work with and who we gel with and who works. So ours, we're going for women similar, not just women, but mainly women, because we're quite a feminine brand. In their 30s, children, may have their own business, may have a bit of a side hustle, just wanting to be able to utilise software, make their lives easier. They have busy lives. So just that kind of person, really.
Perfect. So Instagram's going great. That's awesome. LinkedIn, more of a connection sort of hub for you, not really a lead driver, should we say, but maybe a few, but not the main goal. Are you doing anything else to grow the business? We've got referrals, we've got Instagram, we've got LinkedIn. Is there anything else that you do?
No, I mean, we're all always networking in some way, but it just seems to grow nicely. It's just a really nice influx of inquiries, and I don't feel like we need to do anything more at the moment. Like it just runs nicely at a nice pace.
No, it's a really interesting point, because obviously the consultations that I have with people, some people are like, I actually just want to grow at a manageable level. And then others are like, I need to double in size this year. That's my goal. So it's like, it really depends on who you're speaking to, right? So it sounds like things are moving in the right sort of pace for what you want to do.
Yeah. The thing is, I could get 60 new clients next week, but then I've got to look after those clients. And then I've got to think about, maybe do I need to employ someone else, or have I got the space? So for me, it just needs to grow nicely. It's just like, we have a lovely client base now and we have a great business. So anything else that comes along to me now is just a bonus. Like, it's just nice.
Yeah, no, perfect. So what I want to talk about now is more around challenges within the business, things that are maybe, let's say, annoying, niggling, things that are like, oh, that's that, I need to get that sorted. What comes to your mind when I say challenges?
I think the biggest challenge for us is knowing when to employ someone else, so the next person. So it gets to a point where workload seems to be really heavy. So then we think, right, well, I need to employ somebody else, but then you've got to employ the right person. You've then got to train them. They've got to fit in. They've got to stay, because and also you've got to pay that person, and people in accounting are not cheap. So it's just that balance for me of how we stage things like this. So we are looking for somebody at the moment to do more of an admin role. So we've just identified that is probably a part of our business at the moment where we're all struggling with. But yeah, for me, it's just knowing when to take that next step, to push it a little bit, and is it going to work, or are we going to lose a big client and then not be able to pay somebody? And that's just quite a big worry for me. The other thing that we're doing this year is just really refining all our processes. So for me, I want, from client inquiry to onboarding the client to working with the client and maintaining the client, I want it to all be like a really streamlined process. So I want it to be user friendly for the client. So at the moment, we're just looking at some onboarding software that should link into all our other processes, where I feel like we've got everything right, apart from that first bit. So that's where I'm concentrating on at the moment. But yeah, for me, I just want it to be that somebody else could come into the business and we say, right, this is what we use and this is what we're doing, and we can just roll with it. Like it'll just work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me. Like I just want things to work nicely and be streamlined.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that. Just from previous podcasts that I've done with other people, they've said similar things in terms of systems, and that's been the key to a lot of people's success is having those systems in place. Especially for when you bring someone new into the company, that seems to be a recurring theme where it's like, I want it so when someone starts, they have everything they need. It's a clear process, and it's just that really smooth. So it's not going to mean you have to spend all your time onboarding someone. Not that you don't want to give them any time, because you do, but you want it to be smooth and easy. So yeah, completely agree with that. That is something that I've spotted that other people are doing that really helps their lives out. How about things that you love, things that are, let's say, your biggest successes over the last few years? What springs to mind when you say that?
There've been so many. Like I feel like we've only been going 5 years, but we've done so much. So I think so. We've been a finalist at the Yorkshire Accountancy Awards twice. So that for me is just amazing. Like we were sat on the table last month, and there are so many big firms in that room. So just to even be in that room alongside those people, like I was just like, wow, this is amazing. We bought the office last year, so that was a big thing for me. So I always bang on about like manifesting, and I probably sound like a crazy person, but the beginning of every year I always say, right, this year I want to achieve this. So last year I'd put, I want to buy the office, and it wasn't for sale. We didn't know how much it was going to be, how I was going to fund it, anything. I just said I want to buy the office. And we just put the question forward: would you sell it to us? And I just somehow we pulled it off. So yeah, that's probably one of my biggest things.
Sure.
What else have we done? We did the acquisition. That was quite a good one. Even just moving into an office. What else have we done? The team as well. Like we've just built a really lovely team. Like it's a really nice place to work.
How many team members do you have now?
So there's 4 of us in the office, and we have 1 remote. But yeah, everybody just gets along really nicely. There's never any dramas. We're just a really nice little family. Yeah, and then the Sage Advisory Board as well last month. That was like a real pinch me moment. So I was sat in this boardroom with all these amazing accountants. James Murray, who's the secretary to the treasurer, HMRC, and all the Sage employees, and I just kept like thinking, how am I in this room? Like, how has this happened? Why am I here? But yeah, there's just been so many good moments in the business. So yeah.
Sounds great. And so buying the office was last year's goal. What's this year's goal?
So this year, like I said, it's just making sure that all the processes are working. So introducing some new softwares and making sure that that all works. The branding, so that's now done on the Instagram. So then the next thing will be the website. And then we're going to renovate the office as well. So there's a second floor that we're not using at the moment. So that will be a meeting room and then extra office space so that we can look at recruiting more people as well. Because we're quite squashed into our office now.
Okay. So you're looking at going upstairs to solve the issue, yeah?
Well, it's downstairs actually, yeah, but yeah.
Okay. So last thing I want to cover is more the sales process of what you do. I guess a lot of your clients are referred and whatnot, so I'm guessing there's not a sort of heavy sales aspect to what you do. But if someone wanted to work with you, what is that process? How would you go about bringing them on board?
So if we were taking on a new client? Yeah, so depending on how they've come to us, I would have an initial either meeting face to face. I do prefer in-person meetings, or if that's not feasible, we'll meet them online. Go through what they do, what they need from us, a bit about their business, and then we tailor every quote specifically for clients. And then if they accept that quote, then we get them onboarded and start working with them. We like to try and check in with clients regularly as well. Like, we don't just kind of get you on our books and then say, right, here's your, it's year end, bring your stuff in. Like, we try and check in and try and be a bit more proactive. We're quite a friendly bunch, so like we like to kind of portray that on our clients, like they are part of our family once they come on board. So we do try and be more proactive with everybody.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So throughout that customer journey, then you're checking in. That's part of your process, is it?
Yeah. And generally we'll give them software. They'll have like a bank feed and they'll be uploading receipts. So we're constantly doing something in the background for the clients as well. So we're always processing things for them.
Yeah.
So we can see what's like, we've got like a bit of an oversight continuously on what's going on with each client. So that's quite a nice, if we see something, we'll be like, we can just quickly check in, like, is everything going okay? Or we've noticed you're not using this for, do you need any help with anything? Or so yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So the last thing I want to check off is, if you were to give anyone advice listening to this that are wanting to grow a practice in that sort of nice organic way that you've built so far, what would be the sort of top 3 things you would say, these are the things I would do? If I was starting all over again, it's day one. If I was going to cut a lot of that time that I spent doing various things, what would be the 3 things you'd do to start?
Don't know. I feel like I just wing it constantly. Like, I've never had a plan. Until this year, I think I've never had a plan. Of just kind of things just happen. I'd just say, just be organised. I probably say, just don't try and run too quickly. Like, just take things bit by bit, and if it feels right, do it. If it if it works, that's great. If it doesn't, then there's something to learn from it. I don't know, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like, everybody's like, the thing with accounting is there is so many areas to it. You can't know everything at once. So just be a bit kinder to yourself. Like, just something new comes along, learn about it and put it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah, just take it easy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. So really just you sounds like your sort of approach to it is really just don't take anything too seriously. Just one step at a time, just keep growing in the right direction.
I'm not a planner. Like, I'm not in my personal life either. Like, just go with the flow. Like, things just happen. So I just feel like things just happen at the right time and just go with it.
Yeah.
Take every opportunity.
Sounds good to me. So that's probably a really good place to sort of wrap it up. So Kirsty, if people wanted to follow you, engage with you, what are the best ways of doing that?
So our LinkedIn, I don't know what the handle is. I think it's just Flourish Accounting.
Yeah.
Might be an underscore in there somewhere, I'm not sure. LinkedIn's a good one. I mean, yeah.
Just LinkedIn, yeah, that's the easiest one. Yeah, perfect. So thank you so much for your time, Kirsty. What would be great is I'll check in with you maybe in a year from now, and we'll do another podcast just to see how those systems have gone and the things that you've done to put in place and how that's affected your business. But judging on the other people that I've spoken to on here, that's definitely the way to go. That seems to be a key factor in a few people's success so far. So yeah, I well on board with that. So thank you so much for your time.